Well, look at that. Look who has sole possession of first place in the American League. Your very own Toronto Blue Jays.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Sound on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
As always, I'm Brayden Iwasko. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Brayden5 Iwasko. Carter First, too, as well, on our Twitter page at Locked On Jays. Today's episode also brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. And if you're new here to YouTube, make sure you guys do hit the subscribe button. We've got a ton of new people coming in, and we really appreciate it. The amount of great comments we've gotten over the past few days, few weeks. To all of you, huge shout out to keep coming back to our videos and our channels and our podcasts. We more than appreciate it. So yeah, hit that subscribe button if you are new. We're gonna have a lot of content coming out over the next little bit with the Toronto Blue Jays now leading the American League, first place. We're going to talk about the bats getting hot, what happens throughout the rest of this series, plus the trades have started to happen here. So we're going to talk about the first one that has gone down. It's a big one. And will it be a market setter? That's going to be an interesting conversation. Can't wait to get into that with Carter in the second segment a little bit. But my man, Blue Jays, first place in the American League. How do you feel? This is unbelievable.
Who in the world would have thought that we would be here just over 100 games into the 2025 season, especially just after how 2024 went? There's so many things that you would think are going against the Blue Jays, but the injuries that have marked up. Again, Vladdy not really showing out. We say this every single episode. They continue to just prove the doubters wrong. They're still somehow not being taken seriously around the League of Baseball, and they have tied the league lead in wins in Major League Baseball. They have the best record in the American League. It's still absolutely crazy for me to say that out loud, even though I can still check TSN, I can check the score, I can check wherever you get your Blue Jays stats or standings from, and it's going to say that the Blue Jays are first in the American League. It's absolutely wild, and they just continue to roll on, making the Detroit Tigers the third best team right now in the American League, at least by the record. I know they haven't been playing a good brand of baseball, especially after this All-Star break. Thanks to Pittsburgh Pirates, thanks to Spencer Horwitz being a big part of that as well, helping the Blue Jays out, I guess, from the grave. But it's insane stuff, and it's getting hard to talk about because we're saying the same stuff over and over and over again. And it's easy and it's tough at the same time because it's a different guy doing it every single night. But this main objective and the main kind of thing we're saying day in and day out, it's the exact same. It's every single day. It's you're going to get contributions from everybody playing. You know the Blue Jays are going to do the little things well, and you know that most of the time they're going to completely outplay their opponent.
Yeah, and you know what? Early this season, we talked about that our big guys needed to show up. Vlad, Santander, Bichette. Well, who gets the job done today? Two guys that I would have never guessed. I mean, maybe Ernie Clement, you saw sort of what he was turning into and what he could do with this team. So you got to give credit to Ernie Clement. But one guy, I mean, at the beginning of the season, we didn't even talk about, and I think a lot of the credit of this ball game has to go to him, the Lau show, Erik Lauer. What an absolute unbelievable start against a team that you needed to get some separation. And it's only game one of this series. It is a long series, but this is a statement game to start this off. I mean, 11-4 victory. You stepped on the Tigers' throats. And that's all thanks to Erik Lauer. He set them up perfectly in this ball game.
Well, that's what happens when you have like 52 pitches through 5 innings. You're averaging just over 10 pitches an inning. You're going to go deep into a baseball game. It's the same idea that I just said about this team. You say it just continues to get better when we're talking about Erik Lauer. This guy has truly been incredible, and his teammates starting to recognize that as well. I think they've been recognizing this for a very long time already, but they have started to come out and kind of give some props to Erik Lauer for what he is doing in this season. So I'm just going to go over a couple things that a few people in the Toronto Blue Jays management and players have said about Erik Lauer. One interesting story that I'll quickly get into, I guess off the top here, keeping things a little bit lighthearted, is that Erik Lauer had a bruised lip. It looked like he almost got socked in the face. So obviously people were asking about that, especially when Erik Lauer has been probably the best starting pitcher on the Toronto Blue Jays. you want to know what happened to our king? What's going on? Like, how is this guy, being battered all of a sudden? And we haven't really seen anything in game action. So Hazel May asked Erik Lauer about his busted lip. And this is the story that he cooked up, had a big grin when he was doing it. But this is kind of it summed up. He says, there's this known thing not to there's this known thing. We'll just completely track that back. There's this known thing not to mess with Max Scherzer on a start date, especially when he has his headphones in. I broke that rule. I tried to talk to him a little too early. So obviously poking fun, saying that Max Scherzer clocked him when he was in the zone. Some people believed that on Twitter, which was absolutely hilarious. Sucky Matheson post about it, and he actually had to go in the comment section and say, no, everyone's friends. No, Max Scherzer did not clock Erik Lauer. Just crazy how people were believing that. Maybe just a little bit of the narrative that Max Scherzer carries with him is that he is an absolute lunatic. I don't think he's going to hit Erik Lauer no matter what Erik Lauer says, or even if he does disrupt his pregame routine. So that was a pretty funny moment from Erik Lauer, getting a little bit more comfortable here with the Toronto Blue Jays media. But into what Ernie Clement said about Erik Lauer. Talking about Erik Lauer, who saved the Blue Jays rotation in 2025. Ernie Clement goes in to say, I can't say enough about it. He's our unsung MVP, and there's really no doubt about it. He gives us a chance to win every time, and then some. It's special what he's doing. I was quickly continuing to John Schneider when he said, if I was living in a world that did not include Erik Lauer, I'd have a lot more gray hair in my beard for sure. He's been phenomenal, and he truly has been phenomenal. 8 innings pitched, 5 hits in the ball game. We can go over the underlying numbers, and I'm sure that Brayden will do that a little bit here as well. But it's just crazy what a guy that pitched in Korea last season, not even in the major leagues, signs a minor league deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. We're not even thinking that Erik Lauer is going to make the roster, did not make the roster, and now he has come up and been the most trustworthy starting pitcher on the Toronto Blue Jays up to this point.
Yeah, I mean, it started the conversation. If you get into a playoff game 1, do you go Erik Lauer right off the bat? And
continuing to build those building blocks, kind of pointing in that direction. It's like, how do you not go with Erik Lauer with what he's doing right now? And if he can continue to do this for the rest of the season, I mean, like, you're almost forcing the coaching staff's hand, which is definitely not a bad problem to have whatsoever.
Yeah, and this is a guy that, again, isn't going to blow anybody's doors off, right? He's going to come in, he's going to throw a mix of pitches, he's going to locate well. He's been doing that all season. And, even me, I'm not going to take any credit here, because I was one of the guys that said that, I'm sort of waiting for the other shoe to drop with Erik Lauer. But now we're past the All-Star break. He throws up an absolute gem against one of the best teams in baseball, record-wise, not as of lately. But throws an absolute gem. There's no denying this guy anymore. I'm sorry, even if he goes and has one bad outing, I'm taking the majority of the sample size over the one game. So it's weird to say, but I have complete and full trust in Erik Lauer. And I don't know if about a month and a half ago, if I could say that, but it's undisputed now. So unbelievable outing from Erik Lauer. And we could go on and on about this guy. I mean, 8 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts, gives up the bomb, obviously. 2.61 ERA with a 0.93 whip. Just unbelievable numbers. And I mean, I could go over more actual like whole season stats. And I think that the crazy part, Carter, for all of this is for those of you who are really big analytic guys, you guys like to follow in on like all the stats, the baseball savants. Me and Carter are sort of a little bit of both. We like to have the stats, but we're big eye test guys as well. And it's not like Lauer's baseball savant absolutely jumps off the page to you. It's just that this guy is continually getting the work done, but not blowing you away with maybe some of the underlying numbers. He's sometimes guys just have it, and he's a guy that just has it.
Well, and it's one of those things that's not on Baseball Savant is players cannot pick up his pitches whatsoever. Something with the way that he hides the ball, something with that release point from the left side. Hitters have a very tough time picking up Erik Lauer and his fastball because he is known as kind of like this slow thrower. A lot of the time he's hitting 94. So I don't know if you can necessarily say 94 is slow. It's not necessarily blowing the doors off of anybody, but I think 94 is a pretty decent, or at least average fastball in the major leagues right now. I just want to go over just a few of the stats that I was kind of looking at here in regards to Erik Lauer, because it's absolutely ridiculous. One of the things that popped out to me, he's giving up an opponent slugging of 353. That is absolutely nothing. Nobody hits home runs off Erik Lauer. Nobody hits gap shots off Erik Lauer. he's giving up anything, it's usually a soft contact single. It's like a slap the other way, maybe a little bit of a bloop single. So that is one way that people are getting on with Erik Lauer. The opponent average is under 200 as well. Did the innings pitch 69, obviously, so it's not a small sample size anymore. It has been going on for a good chunk of season. So yeah, shout out to Erik Lauer for just sticking with the Blue Jays narrative of just so many unsung heroes and so many guys performing over expectations. Huge reason, obviously, why the Toronto Blue Jays sit, again, it feels crazy to say this, but at the top of the American League, not just the AL East anymore, the American League.
Yeah, and just to finish off this little bit on Erik Lauer, I like to go on the Savant specifically for one thing, not necessarily the numbers, but the hot zones and where he necessarily throws pitches. And this is a guy that utilizes every pitch the right way. And I know that's a strange thing to say, but wherever you in your head would place a curveball, wherever you would in your head place a fastball, wherever in your head you would place a cutter, that's exactly where Erik Lauer's hot zones are. He's using his pitches so effectively and with so much deceit because you never really know what he's going to throw. This guy has been outstanding, and I can't say enough. Huge shout out to him. But Carter, I know we got so many other guys you need to talk about, and that's before we even start really getting into the big trade of the day as well that happened. So before we move over to segment 2 here, is there anything else you want to bring up game-wise or Erik, back to Erik Lauer?
Nothing too crazy in particular. Just wanted to give a shout out to Erik Lauer. I guess I could throw this little tidbit in here as well. 8 innings pitched in the middle of a stretch where you have 14 games in 13 days, especially when you got Tyreek Skubal and Jack Flaherty coming up on the schedule. Again, you got the doubleheader coming up against the Baltimore Orioles as well. A little bit of a reset day for the bullpen. You use Chad Green. I mean, it doesn't really matter how he's going to pitch. You're up 11-1. Just get the inning pitch. You definitely got that. So it just helps him not only for Erik Lauer's own confidence, continuing to build those stepping stones, but giving the bullpen some rest, giving this pitching staff some rest. So you got your full arsenal ready for the rest of this Detroit Tigers series. So again, just crazy stuff from Erik Lauer. Exactly what you want to see from your lefty. But yeah, there's a bunch more that we want to get into. Obviously, the offensive outburst that this team did have because they scored a lot of runs and it happened very quickly, and it was a lot of fun to watch. We definitely want to go into that. We will dive into the Toronto Blue Jays offensive performance after this short break.
Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to the ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's easy way to grab last minute tickets without all the stress. With the money you save with tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group of friends or family to come with you. Game Time makes all of that possible. Trust me on this one. I'm a huge game day pusher because it's the only one that I use. It is my favorite thing because, they get the last minute deals. They have the lowest price. You can see your total up front, so you don't have to worry about that when you go to the checkout. Oh no, is it going to cost me an extra so much? No, it's not. You know exactly what you're getting. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So, Carter, continuing on here, we did talk about Erik Lauer and his start, but we got to talk about the offense because the offense did go off today and put up 11 runs on the Detroit Tigers. And you know what? I got to just say this before we really dive into it. A lot of Blue Jays fans in the stands today, and obviously it's right there to hop, skip, and to jump away. So that was sort of cool to see too. The camera kept panning to a bunch of Blue Jays fans. So that was nice to see. Good on all of you that ended up getting out there. But Carter, a lot of people to talk about today, but I think we have to start with the main man, Mr. 3-run shot himself, Ernie Clement.
Yeah, you absolutely love to see that from a guy that has been struggling a little bit at the top of the order. That's why in one of the games against the Yankees, you saw David Schneider leading off against the left-handed pitcher. Usually that was Ernie Clement, but the guy went, I think it was like 3 for 29 in his last 7 or so games. So he wasn't necessarily hitting that well. Over his last 15, this kind of encompasses it a little bit here as well. 224 average with 230 on base. That makes sense for Ernie. Doesn't walk a lot, but a 362 slugging for an OPS of under 600. So not exactly what you're looking for, especially from a leadoff hitter. And an interesting moment in this game as well. I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I feel like if I said it, I don't think anyone would come at me for this one. Probably at the first time Addison Barger has ever been intentionally walked in the major leagues. I can't remember another time that has happened.
Four times.
He's been intentionally walked 3 other times?
Apparently. That's the stat I heard. Again, take that with a grain of salt, but I heard it was 4 times.
See, maybe like before, because I mean, before this year, you're not really that scared of Addison Barger at the plate. Maybe you're looking for double play balls.
Something like that. It must have been.
That seems interesting to me. I would love to see when those other times were. But yeah, Addison Barger is intentionally walked. So Ernie Clement does come up. They don't want Addison Barger, a lefty. They want the right-hander coming up in that scenario. But just the way these hitters have been playing, sometimes that platoon advantage is obviously nice to have. You want that lefty-lefty matchup. You want the righty-righty matchup. But sometimes you got to see, hey, which hitter is hotter? Which one is just traditionally going to do more damage to me? At that point, it's probably, again, it is probably Addison Barger. Maybe that is why you're walking them. But Ernie Clement comes up, sees a changeup right down the middle of the plate. And then you see a little bit of a pimp from Ernie Clement there as well. Runs the bat almost down, all the way down to first base. And then me and you both had a little bit of a funny reaction at the same time as we were watching it. It does do that little 2-hand flip at the end. But yeah, shout out to Ernie Clement for for a guy that's been struggling to come up in a big spot like that and kind of blow the game open for that 6th inning. The Blue Jays had 3 hits in 5 innings. Reese Olson looked like he was going to absolutely dominate this team. That's one thing I was a little bit worried about is that Blue Jays traditionally, not this year, I guess this year is maybe an anomaly. A lot of the time when the Toronto Blue Jays have went against a struggling bunch, they have been that team to help the other opposing pitcher, the hitters, whatever it ends up being, really figure it out. That did not happen whatsoever in this baseball game. So yeah, shout out to Ernie Clement. And then the entire offense is supposed to continue to cover it. But Ernie Clement specifically for that absolute moonball in the left field.
Oh my goodness. And the bat flip, that was a perfect moment, right? Again, you're not bat flipping every home run, but a 3-run shot to sort of blow the game wide open. Do it. Have some fun, kid. I like to see that stuff. And you know what? I don't know about anybody. I don't think anybody's going to throw at Ernie Clement because he did a little bat flip. And if that's the case, that is just crazy. So whatever. I did look it up. This was his 4th intentional walk in his MLB career. So
that seems wild to me. I just don't know in one other scenario that you'd be walking Addison Barger this year. Makes a lot of sense. But yeah, just weird for me to see. I'm not used to seeing Addison Barger getting intentionally walked, obviously. But credit to him for starting to gaining that, obviously, respect from around the league a little bit here for what he's done in this last stretch.
Yeah, I can't remember a time that he did, but it must have been in a double play situation, something like that. But it was really weird. Me and you sort of, I think he's getting that clout now, right? He's getting that because other teams are starting to see him as a big time threat. And you know what? In that situation, I totally understand the intentional walk there. Hey, this guy could probably do damage. Ernie Clement's been on a little bit of a slide lately.
Well, and then they get the ready matchup, right? So
Exactly. So at the end of the day, it was a good call. It's just too bad for the Tigers that Ernie Clement is an absolute beauty.
Well, it's unfortunately for the Tigers that if you throw that change up to really anyone in the Toronto Blue Jays the way they're playing right now, they're probably doing some sort of damage to it. I don't know if it's a 3-run home run, but a lot of those players are going to hit that ball very hard. It's just the way the Toronto Blue Jays have been doing it. It's been a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, and a total of 3 home runs today from the Toronto Blue Jays, and they don't come from your sources that you'd expect. Nathan Lucas, bang. Joey Loperfido, back-to-back with Ernie Clement was awesome. If you can get back-to-back home runs from guys in the bottom of your order, that is going to help you out so much on a team that notoriously does not hit home runs, Carter.
Oh, 100%. Like, you're getting home runs from the guys that you didn't even necessarily think would be on the team at this point. And just like, again, just this huge thing we're always talking about with just players making contributions when they have the opportunity. Let's go into what Joey Loperfido has done with the Toronto Blue Jays this season. 34 at-bats as a 324 average. Again, it's very small sample size. 2 home runs, 890 OPS. It's just been insane. Like what these guys do when they get called up to the Toronto Blue Jays. Will Wagner's been on a heater. Nathan Lucas, 420-foot home run. Absolutely ridiculous stuff. It's getting hard to find something new and positive to say about this Toronto Blue Jays team because I'm seemingly to watch this team, and every time I watch them, I'm just grinning ear to ear because it's just again, like nothing can seemingly can really go wrong for this Blue Jays ball club. But yeah, it's always going to be a whole lot of fun when Ernie Clement and Joey Loperfido, 2 guys that aren't traditionally your power hitters. Loperfido might have a little bit more pop, but again, the younger, unproven guy, always fun to see that. And just a lot of runs in a couple of innings. You go from a game that's, again, 1-0 throughout the first 5 innings, and you end up getting up 11-1 in the next 3. Like, that's a pretty good offensive explosion. Especially, again, I don't care how bad the Detroit Tigers are playing. These games are going to matter down the stretch.
Well, and if one statistic doesn't show you how well this team has been playing, it's the fact that every single one of the players in this ball game recorded a hit today. That's massive. If your entire lineup 1 to 9 can all put up hits, there is danger all over for the opposing pitcher. So shout out this, not just the guys that hit home run and did the damage. I mean, Vladdy had a pretty solid game. Yes, not the power that you necessarily want from him again, but he's getting jobs done right now. And for a guy that's hopefully going to find himself in the later parts of the season, heading into the playoffs, that's what you got to hope for. He's doing enough right now where you can still say, hey, he's not just a bum, and he's not going, 0 for 5 every night. He's still making things happen. It's just maybe not in the way that you would want them to. So up and down this lineup, big shout out to all these guys in that game, because my God, it was a fun one.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to give a shout out to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. because in the last 5 games, he hasn't fully turned it around, but we're starting to see the signs. We're starting to see it, again, small sample size, but a little bit more consistently. Vladdy in his last 5 games does have 11 hits, pretty ridiculous. 3 of them are extra base hits. Only 4 strikeouts compared to 3 walks, 6 RBIs. We're starting to see Vladdy pull the baseball a little bit more, which is definitely nice to see. Saw it against the Yankees, saw it in this game as well, pulling a double down the left field line. What we've seen from Vladdy this year is he's been late a lot of the time, especially on that fastball. He's been behind it. He's been fouling it back. He's been taking it to the opposite field. And while using the entire field isn't necessarily a bad thing, when you're Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and just traditionally when you're looking at Major League Baseball players and when they're hitting for power, a lot of it is going to come pull side. A lot of it's going to be when you get in front of that baseball. And if Vladdy can start pulling the baseball a little bit more, and especially pulling the baseball in the air, which we're starting to see Vladdy get the timing down a little bit, start pulling the baseball down the line, he's still going to hit the ball hard. So if you can start seeing Vladdy start pulling baseballs, that's where a lot of his power is going to be. And hopefully those two things can correlate. We can start to see a Vladdy just absolute tear throughout these next 2 months of the season.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't ever want to tell a Major League Baseball player how to play the game. But there's one thing that I've noticed in Vladdy's at-bats where I think he could take advantage of. A ton of his at-bats are starting with middle fastballs. And Vlad's just taking them. And I know maybe he's trying to stay away from those so he's not getting out early and he can work counts and find a pitch that he wants. But there is a ton of at-bats where Vlad sees a middle fastball and he's not swinging at that. And I don't know. In my head, that's a pitch I'm geared up for, or you should be, right? If you see that ball coming over the plate as a fastball from a guy, go after it, take a hack. Like, that's how you're going to get back on the fastball, is if you're ready for it. So I don't know. Again, he's playing well. I just think that that's one thing that, hey, if I'm Vladdy and these guys are starting to continually throw me fastballs first pitch, maybe gear up for it. Be ready. That's all I'm saying. So not really a negative, just something I'm seeing personally. And again, I'm not a Major League Baseball player. So
yeah, it's an observation you could definitely make, because we have seen that a little bit more recently, and it's becoming a lot more common. And the first question I ask is why? And it's not why are they throwing him that? It's why do you see the ball, a fastball, early in the count, right down the middle, and why aren't you swinging at it? So there's a couple things that there could be for the reasoning there. Number one is you're sitting on another pitch, but again, why aren't you sitting on the fastball? And the other thing is, are you really confident with that fastball if you're taking a pitch right down the middle? And sometimes, they're not blowing away with the velocity either. Sometimes it's just like 93 right down the middle. Why is Vladdy not being more aggressive, especially when they know that he knows that pitchers are going to be attacking him, especially the inside part of the plate, but with fastballs early on in the count? Why are you not making that adjustment and trying to get the bat head out a little bit earlier and hit for some of that power? So you put a second thought into some of those pitchers' heads. So I think it's just an interesting conversation to have, is why is he so consistently taking some of those fastballs that are right down the middle? I don't have the exact answer for you, but is you pointed out, and that is something I have definitely noticed as well. Again, Vladdy has gotten to the point because of his raw athleticism, his raw power, but because he is a very good hitter. So, I mean, me and you definitely are not in a position to tell Vladimir Guerrero Jr. what to do, but it has been something that I have definitely been noticing as well. And with two guys having a podcast, it's something that we got to talk about.
Yeah, and again, at the end of the day, there are some players that just don't like to swing at the first pitch. They feel like it's a comfortability thing. See one and go after the next one, whatever it may be. In my head, again, we were always told from when we were kids, right? It's what's the most likely pitch that out of any pitch that you're going to see in at bat, what's the first one you might see is a fastball. So why not be geared up for it?
And a lot of the time, the first pitch of the at bat you see is the best pitch. We talk about advantage counts and how important that is for pitchers. That first pitch means a lot because a lot of times pitchers want to get ahead in the count. So a lot of their other stuff can work and they can throw their strikeout and swing and miss pitches.
Yeah, exactly. No, and it's a conversation, and that's why I brought it up, because I thought it was just a fun thing to throw on. Let me know if you guys in the comment section are seeing this as well. But if not, give us your comments on just how this team is performing. Can you believe that they are tied for the best record in baseball, currently leading the American League? Carter, my man, I do want to get into this trade that has happened. I want to give some people just a food for thought little tidbit here as well, before we tee up sort of what's going to come the rest of the weekend. We're still going to be trying to put out shorts and everything else, so we still have some content coming out for you guys, especially in such a big series. And so leave us comments down below, especially with the trade deadline coming. We want all your thoughts and opinions as well. We'll take a quick break, Carter. I think we come right back, and we'll jump right into that trade. Today's episode brought to you by Game Day Hue. I'm going to pop the hat over here one of these days because it is a beautiful hat. And you know what? They got hat, they got golf gloves, they got a ton of great stuff. You know what? I'm going golfing Sunday. Me and Carter got a tee time booked, and it's my go-to now. It's perfect. It's blue, it's white, it's breathable, it's sturdy. It's not something that's going to get destroyed. Some of my hats, it's brutally hot out one day and you're sweating. You got some breathing room there. Game Day Hue makes clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, on the course, or anywhere in between. Right now, you can save 15% off with code MLB15 at GameDayHue.com. That's GameDayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals, so now's the time to load up. Let your colors talk because colors speak louder than words. That's GameDayHue.com, code MLB15. So we got to talk about it. Don't get me wrong, it's not a Toronto Blue Jays trade, but man, it is a pretty big one to kick off this 2025 trade deadline. Josh Naylor from the Arizona Diamondbacks will go to the Seattle Mariners. And Carter, my man, it wasn't for a whole heck of a lot, was it?
No, not really whatsoever. It was for the Mariners' 13th and 16th ranked prospects. And it's for a guy in Josh Naylor who's hitting 292 this year, 11 home runs, 59 RBIs, and 807 OPS. Has replayed some pretty decent defense as well. So not going to be a liability on that part. Great move from the Seattle Mariners. Makes a ton of sense for them to have a first baseman kind of squash between Julio Rodriguez, Cal Raleigh, Randy Rosarena, sort of adding a little bit more thump in that lineup. It's going to be an interesting move because this was a pretty early trigger to pull here for the Seattle Mariners. And again, two middle tier prospects for one of the better hitters that is going to be sold at this trade deadline. So that kind of leaves me with two thoughts. The first one is, okay, maybe this will be more of a buyer's market just early on from what we were seeing. But the second thing is, I mean, if these guys are going for this cheap and you look at around the league and you look at these prospect pools and what a lot of these other teams are offering, I think, and that's another thing. That's the third thing is why couldn't the Toronto Blue Jays do that? But the other thing is, if there are some of these trades like this where it is going to be these middle tier prospects, it's going to be tough for the Toronto Blue Jays to compete. But I guess in the same breath is that if it's not taking a whole lot for them to give up to get a lot of these players and they're not giving up a lot of prospects, prospect pool shouldn't necessarily hurt them too much. They have to overpay a little bit. And right now it's going for two middle tier prospects. And hey, maybe in the Blue Jays 6, since you don't have as good of a prospect pool, maybe you have to use your number 6 prospect, or maybe it's like the number 10 instead of 13 and 16, whatever that may be. That is still definitely feasible for the Toronto Blue Jays ball club. So there's definitely some positives and negatives to take from this, depending on which way you look at it.
Yeah, and that was my biggest takeaway is this setting the market, right? And it has to a little bit, right? Teams are going to look at, hey, what did the Mariners just give up for this guy? So the only way that we'll know that is to see when the next trade happens and see if it sort of follows the same pattern. We can speculate all we want, but until that happens, then we'll know. And I think
there's another thing about this as well, is that there's a lot of teams right now we're not 100% sure if they're going to be buyers or sellers at the deadline.
Yeah.
This means that Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Eugenio Suarez are available. You don't sell Josh Naylor if you're trying to make a playoff run. So the D-backs kind of showed their cards a little bit there, and maybe that's why they made a move early on. So now they do have more opportunity to talk with a lot of teams. I mean, teams should be doing their due diligence. They should know that these players are available. But now you know for 100% concrete fact that those three players specifically will be available at this trade deadline. So maybe a little bit of a mental trade chip that the D-backs were trying to use early on here in this trade deadline.
Sure. Now this gives them a lot more time to get a lot more offers. So for those guys specifically. So yeah, interesting move. We'll see if it pays off. We'll see if now they get higher tier prospects. What's going to happen? It's going to be very interesting. But we figured we pass that along to you guys. Any big trades, we're still going to talk about it. I mean, any trade that happens now affects the Toronto Blue Jays and what they're willing to get or can get, and who they might have to face in a playoff situation. So again, moving on from that, there's still 3 games left in this series, Carter. And you know what? I think we should go over it again now with the rear view mirror that the Toronto Blue Jays have won the first one, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a good start to the series, and the pitching matchups are only going to get harder as we continue on with this series. But I just wanted to give a little bit of credit, Chris, quickly to the Toronto Blue Jays offense. I know we talk a lot about them. We talk about the collective approach that they are having, the contributions that you're getting from everywhere. But right now, the Toronto Blue Jays are tied for first in Major League Baseball for hits in a game at 8.8, usually averaging 8.8 hits, which is definitely very good for a baseball game. First in the league, a batting average at 261, second in on base at 332. OPS, they are sixth at 740. They strike out the least amount in the league. They have one of the best defenses in the league. For sure, there is still some pitching issues, but it should be not easy, but there should be some options to address this bullpen and get you a little bit of help, especially in the higher leverage scenarios. So people will continue to say, hey, is this Toronto Blue Jays team for real? Is this Toronto Blue Jays team going to be able to play this caliber of baseball down the stretch? People were saying that when we were on the 10-game win streak. People were saying that before we took over the AL East. People are still saying that, and we sit atop of the American League. So what more needs to happen for this Toronto Blue Jays baseball team to get some league-wide recognition? I mean, I don't mind playing for somehow the underdog role, even though we have one of the best records in all of baseball. But the way I stand on this fence before we do quickly get into the rest of this Tiger series is that if people want to doubt the Toronto Blue Jays, if whatever they've seen up to this point, and they're still doubting the Toronto Blue Jays, that's completely on them, and they're in for a rude awakening once the Toronto Blue Jays roll into their town and absolutely beat the crap out of their baseball team.
Yeah, no, bring it on. You know what? The underdog role, if that's what's going to be placed on this Toronto Blue Jays team, I mean, we've seen it, in shows, if it's on other media markets, they don't want to give the Toronto Blue Jays credit because they don't believe in them. But, for all of us sitting here watching baseball games every single day and watching how this team competes, the grittiness, the heart, the will, the want and willingness to win, sort of to do whatever, take any role that's thrown at these guys, it's hard not to give them credit. This team is unbelievable, and we're in for a wild ride the rest of the season. Hopefully, you guys are going to stick around with us for the rest of this year. We're going to be here Monday to Friday on the weekends. You'll have your shorts. You'll have everything like that. If there's big trades or any big information that comes down, we will for sure be going live. But Carter, in saying all of that, let's get into the next couple of matchups. Jose Berrios versus Keider Montero. That would be later today. Then we move on. Kevin Gausman, Tarik Skubal. That is going to be a battle. I can't wait.
If you get vintage Gausman in that game, that is going to be a must watch.
Yeah. And then to finish things off, Mad Max back on the mound versus Flaherty. Jack Flaherty was, thinking Mason
Not
Flaherty.
Mason Flaherty, not quite.
Different
Mason Flaherty is back, not for the Detroit Tigers, though.
Different guy. Max Scherzer, though, making his return to where he spent a lot of time. Detroit, obviously. So that should be an interesting game for him in there as well. So I'm more than pumped. But Carter, now that seeing that game one is gone, come and gone, and the Blue Jays won that, are you still thinking 3-1?
Oh, I mean, it's going exactly according to plan right now. This was the second game. If I had to pick another one, I was a little bit nervous for. It's just going to see how Jose Berrios can go out and pitch. If he can put up 6 solid innings, I think that's going to put the team in a very good spot, especially with what Erik Lauer did. You got pretty much your entire bullpen at your disposal. But I think I'm going to end it off with this. Looking at the stretch after the All-Star break, we talked about the 10-game stretch the Toronto Blue Jays were going to have against the Giants, the Yankees, and now the Detroit Tigers. we said, hey, 5-5. We're going to be pretty happy with 5-5. Of course, you would love to see 6-4. Well, right now, looking at the way the Toronto Blue Jays play, they're 6-1 throughout the first 7 games of this series and could go on an absolute generational run. Even if they do win the next 2 out of 3, even if they lose the next 2 out of 3, you go 7-3 over this stretch. Sign me up. Again, sign me the hell up for this. This team is not to be taken lightly, and they're going to continue to keep proving the people that aren't believing in them wrong. And I cannot wait to be here buckled up for the ride.
And you know what? Canadians that may just be joining us on this Toronto Blue Jays bandwagon, because, there are a lot of people that don't watch the first half of a baseball season. You know what? That's fine. At this point, with how excited I am about this team, bring everyone. Bring all the ships, bring all the people, get on the bandwagon that is the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm okay accepting everybody. Carter, I'm sure you are too, because when this fan base is alive and together and you get all the people back that maybe have been missing baseball for a couple years now, it is something special. Not only Rogers, but, you walk down the street and you got a Blue Jays hat on, you're going to get a nod from somebody. That's baseball so underappreciated here, just that how much people do pay attention when push comes to shove. So I am enjoying this more than anything. You know what? Winnipeg, big hockey town, right? Obviously, the Jets are huge here. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers are huge. What kicked off the sports show last night? Toronto Blue Jays baseball, baby. That's what was the first thing talked about. Not, hey, what's going on in the NHL? Not what's going on in the CFL? Not what's going on in basketball or anything like that. It's Toronto Blue Jays baseball, and it's never been a better time to be a fan than right now.
Well, and just look at the Rogers Center in that New York Yankees series. It already looked like a playoff atmosphere. And I guess this is the way I will end it off with some of the Yankees talk. I did go back and I decided to watch some Yankees podcasts just to see kind of where their temperament was at. And the sky is absolutely falling. They have no idea what to do with their lives. They're saying, Anthony Volpe shouldn't even be on the team. Aaron Boone should be fired. This defense is the worst defense we've ever seen. They have made no changes since the World Series run. And I think, what are they, 9 games above 500 still? Maybe they're 10 games above 500. It's just crazy how privileged that the New York Yankees are. Because in 2024, I would have died for having a record like that. I would have given up so many different things for that record. But it's just hilarious seeing the Yankees just absolutely falling apart, starting at the fan base and hopefully going throughout that roster. I imagine we have, 2022? I think was the year the New York Yankees didn't make the playoffs. Give me that again. I don't care what happens to the rest of the AL. Give me the Yankees not in the playoffs somehow. Sign me up.
That would be unbelievable. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend. Enjoy Toronto Blue Jays baseball. Enjoy getting out and doing something. It's middle of summer. Get out there, do something, go for a round of golf, get together with friends, do whatever you want to do. But always keep in mind that Toronto Blue Jays baseball is on, and the podcast back Monday as long as there are no trades that happen with the Toronto Blue Jays. Otherwise, we will be live at some point this weekend. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Leave all your thoughts, feelings, comments down below. We love when you guys do that. So thanks a bunch. We'll talk to you guys next week.